Part 4 Contracts and Negotiations. Chapter 21 Methods of Payments. Your student will need a way to pay for their classes, right? Here we are going to discuss some options. Direct payments. Let's say your student wants to hire you just for 1 or 2 classes for any specific needs, such as an interview, an urgent presentation, a trip, and so on. The easiest way here would be by a direct bank transfer. You get the money right away, and there's no need for any bureaucracy that could take up your time. You inform them your bank details, and they will pay you, preferably before the class, or at least on that very day. If it is face-to-face, you can also offer them the option of paying you in cash. However, I highly suggest that you avoid the temptation of this easy strategy if your student is going to have more classes with you. Waiting for the students to transfer the amount to your bank account on an agreed day is highly risky because there can be unexpected events that can interfere in their payments. They can get sick, they can have a tough working day, not being able to stop before midnight, they can simply forget about it. The same with students who pay you in cash in case of face-to-face classes. They can simply be absent from their class on that particular day, or maybe a week or 2. Can you imagine? Your bills won't stop coming. Bills aren't understanding to our problems like we are to our students' problems. Another point here is to charge a fee on overdue payments. If they're paying directly to you, it will be very difficult to negotiate fees because they will always have a plausible explanation, expecting to be understood in their difficulty, and you will feel uncomfortable if you don't understand their problems by charging them any sort of fees. Credit card. There is a good advantage here in terms of automatizing payments. Once your student has opted for this method, it will be automatically debited from their credit card and you won't risk not getting paid. You can include their payment as a recurrent one so that not until they cancel their course will you have to worry about this again. It saves you a lot of precious time. The cons here are that not all students use credit cards, and some students who use credit cards don't have spare limits to add more bills to them. For this reason, you need an alternative payment for cases like these. Also, your credit card operator may charge you fees for using them. So, make sure you know how much these fees will cost you so that you can financially organize yourself. I myself don't like the idea of telling the student the price of the course plus X% fee, because it will leave room for them to tell me they prefer to make a direct transfer so as to avoid the fee, which I often find it hard to say no to this pretty fair argument. That leaves us with 2 alternatives. You can either include these fees in your price or absorb them yourself. If you choose to absorb them yourself, remember to add these fees to your financial plan because depending on the credit card operator, the total fee amount can be rather high at the end of the month. In case you don't want to absorb this cost, remember to include it in your price composition. Brazilian bank slip. What is a bank slip here in my country? It is a payment system where the clients receive a document from the bank with the due date as well as the amount to be paid. Also, the fees they will have to pay in case the payment is overdue are also informed in the document. In case the payment is overdue, the bank operator will apply the fees automatically when the student decides to pay it. In Brazil, it's called boleto. I'm sharing with you in this book the way I work, and this is the system I mostly use with my students, at least with my Brazilian ones, even though it usually takes me about an hour every month to issue the slips as well as to send them out. The reason why I prefer to use it is that in case they don't pay me on the due date, they will automatically have to pay interest over this amount, which they don't even complain about as the document is issued by the bank and they know there's nothing I can do. If they don't pay it, the system charges the client using the banking legal system. It is safe for me, and the fees I pay the bank for this service are low in comparison to credit card fees. There are banks that don't even charge for issuing this document. If you live in Brazil or in any country that has a similar banking system, you may want to do some research and see if it is worth to you. PayPal and other payment platforms. Mainly for international payments, not only do these payment platforms facilitate the process immensely, but also help avoid scams, mostly when the student is new and has come to you from social media or any other cold contact, which means without recommendation. The student will feel safer to pay for a course they haven't had yet, as you are still a stranger to them, and you'll be certain of receiving the amount. Remember to get paid for lessons in advance so as to avoid being ghosted after a few classes. The disadvantage is the fees they charge us, which can be pretty high. If you do some quick online research on this topic, you'll see that there are other platforms and apps offering the same intermediation. I highly suggest you compare. Talk to teachers around you to see what they're using to make sure to make a good choice if you opt for this kind of payment. Technology changes pretty fast. By the time you read this book, there might be even better payment options. Or obsolete ones, who knows? What I recommend above is all for you to make sure that you negotiate everything well before you get started and get paid in advance to avoid disappearances. Being a freelance teacher is also understanding about business to become a professional entrepreneur. In our case, a teacherpreneur.